I want us today to go to the Old Covenant, the book of beginnings, Genesis, the last chapter, 50. I want you to find verses 19 and 20. We're going to use the context of verses 15 to 20, but I really want to concentrate and make the point in verses 19 and 20. But I need 15 and even all back to chapters 37 to make the point today. But I want you to find Genesis 50, 19 and 20. Remember, we are in our real series, Reach Lost Souls. Y'all can help me out. Empower all souls through biblical teaching. Advance the kingdom of God. Live as Amen. So we are in that section of being empowered. I empowered all souls through biblical teaching. Genesis 50, 19 and 20. You there? It's on our screens. This is what it says. But Joseph said to them, "Do not be afraid. Am I in the place of God? Even though you intended to do harm to me, God intended it for good, in order to preserve a numerous people, as he is doing today." I want you to look at your neighbor and directly in the face, dead in the eye. And I want you to say to them, they never apologized. They never apologized. A couple weeks ago, it was on a Friday, and of course, you know, on Friday, the wife said, "I ain't cooking tonight." So we look around the room, and Mia, what you want? ML, what you want? What y'all have a taste for? That night, everybody was in agreement that we'd get some pizza. And so we called Pizza Hut right here on Dixon Boulevard. Had the, pizza app on my phone. So I ordered it through my pizza app. It was $5.55. And the reason why I know that is because I got an email saying that the order that I put in was successful. And they said at $5.55, Brother Flag, that the pizza will be delivered to my home by 6:25. Well, we're sitting there, not sure we were watching a game or we was doing something. I don't know. We was watching TV. Of course, we was back and forth on our phones and all that stuff. You know how we do, just lounging, chilling on Friday. And then I looked up to the clock and it said 6:30. And wasn't no Pizza Hut delivery man in my driveway. Then, so I was chilling, 6:40. Stomach started growling and wasn't no Pizza Hut dude was coming. 6:45 came, 6:50, I started huffing and puffing. 6:55, I went on ahead and called Pizza Hut. I told them I placed an order online through my app at 5:55, and the email said it'd be here at 6:25, and it's now 6:55. No, I'm sorry, it's 6:57 because I've been on the phone with you a minute. I just want to know, where my pizza. And the lady was very kind. She says, "Sir, it says it's out for delivery, but if it doesn't get there in the next 10 minutes, you give us a call back." I says, "Thank you, ma'am." I hung on the phone. I looked, and it was 6:58. And I was ready for 7:08 to get there. But at 7:05, Brother John, a white van, came in my driveway on 2 wheels with the little sign that said Pizza Hut delivery. And I was standing there in the doorway. I didn't have a mean look on my face. I just had a look of hunger. He got out of his van, got out of his van, he ran, and he said, whew, had to go back to the store because they had messed up someone else's order. I said, okay, that's fine. I ain't worried about that order. I just want to know about my order. My pizza is not cold, is it? He said, no, sir, your pizza is not cold. So we went in the house. The pizza was not cold. Enjoyed the pizza, even though it was late. Enjoyed the pizza. But on Sunday night, that Sunday night, we was lounging again. An email popped up on my phone, and it was from Pizza Hut. I took a screenshot. There it is. That's what it says. It says, recently you trusted us with your order, and we let you down. This is what Pizza Hut said. We messed up, my Lord, and we owe you an apology. See, of course, it says, you're going to get a free pizza and, click and all that. Yeah. But what stuck out to me was when it says, we messed up and we owe you an apology. It took courage for them to say, we messed up. Because they did deliver the pizza, and I did eat the pizza, but they said, we messed up, and we owe you an apology. Please come closer. How many people have we messed up? How many people have we done wrong? And we didn't have the courage to face them and say, we messed up. Or I messed up. And I owe you an apology. Or let me say it this way, Devon. How do we deal with people who know they did us wrong and will not say, I'm sorry? Now, granted, sometimes it's unintentional. They didn't know they hurt us. They didn't know they did wrong to us, right? Sometimes it's unintentional. But I'm talking about the folk who know what they was doing and will not say, I'm sorry. I want to know, how do we deal with those type of people? Mostly what we'll say is, we'll say, well, I just don't fool with them. I don't talk to them, right? Or I stay away from them. I keep my distance. And I'm sure that's what Joseph felt as well. Joseph, you wonder who I'm talking about? I'm talking about Joseph, who's now in our text, who's been elevated to a place of governorship in Pharaoh's administration. And he's over the food distribution. Joseph, that's who I'm talking about. But he just didn't start as governor. You got to go all the way back to when he was 17. At his house, it seemed to be pretty normal. He was a 17-year-old teenager. He had his family. He had his brothers, his mom, all that. But here was the problem. Deacon Hush, his brothers hated him because of what they saw. They saw that their father Jacob loved Joseph more than he loved them. And he saw the gifts, especially that one gift, that coat of many colors, that Jacob gave to Joseph, and he didn't give the other sons one. And so they hated him. But then Joseph wanted to have dreams. Joseph wanted to have some dreams. The first dream he had, he told only to his brothers. And he told the dream, he never interpreted the dream, he just told the dream, but his brothers interpreted the dream to say, you must be crazy to think we're going to bow down to you. Here's some more dreams. This time, he don't only tell his brother, but he also tell his father. And his father this time rebukes him. and said, you must be crazy. You know who I am? I'm your daddy. I brought you in this world. I can take you out. What kind of dream is this talking about? We're going to bow. You expect me and your mama to come and bow down? You know who I am. They interpret the dream. Joseph only told the dream. Joseph left it alone. He left it alone. And then this is what Joseph did. Joseph, a couple days later, his daddy, Jacob, sends him to find his brothers. Brothers out there working. So when he was afar off, his brothers saw him coming. And his brothers said, here comes that dreamer. And then they start plotting. Because they hated him because why? Daddy loved him more. Daddy gave him gifts. He's daddy's favorite. And he gonna tell us about his dream that we interpret to mean we're gonna bow down to him. So they start plotting. They had three options. The first option was to kill him and throw him in a pit. The second option was to just throw him in a pit alive. And the third option was to sell him. And so they sold him for 20 cents. 20 pieces of silver. They sold him. Now, this is what I need you to understand. When they sold him, the travelers, Ishmaelites, they took him all the way to Egypt. So there was a what? Distance. There was distance between whom? His brothers who did him wrong and Joseph who was done wrong. So I'm sure Joseph may have felt what? Well, I don't have to fool with them. I don't have to what? Deal with them. Why? Because we're so far away. Probably will never see them again. Are you with me? And so watch this. Watch this. As they are so far away, you got to understand the very thing that got Joseph's soul was the very thing that got Joseph elevated. Dreams. This time is not that Joseph is telling the dream, but he's what? Interpreting the dream. He interprets Pharaoh's dream, and the main dream that got him elevated was the dream interpretation that there would be a famine for 7 years. Well, you got to understand, even though there was food in Egypt, right? And Egypt was affected, there was no food nowhere else. So everybody in the world had to come where? Had to come to Egypt, right? So who's everyone in the world? It includes whom? His brothers in Canaan that had to come all the way to Egypt to find and sit under the brother who they really don't know is governor yet. So in chapter 43, guess what? He recognized them, but they didn't recognize him. In chapter 45, Joseph couldn't help it. He made himself known. He made himself known to his brothers, but his brothers, when they finally said, oh my Lord, this is our brother, they didn't know how to respond. Now, this is the second year of the famine. But here in chapter 50, Jacob, their father, dies. And the brothers, here it is, they are forced to confront and respond to Joseph. The brothers, here it is, knew they were wrong. Come closer. They knew they was wrong, here it is, but they did not have the courage to say, we messed up and we owe you an apology. Here it is. They did not feel like they had to say sorry because their father was still alive. But when their father died, they was forced to talk to Joseph. You with me? You have to understand that a lot of people will not say they are sorry because they don't have the courage to face you, because 9 times out of 10 they're hiding behind somebody. Or they're hiding behind their pride. This is what it was. Only daddy could keep Joseph from what? getting us or restraining Joseph from getting revenge on us. But now Daddy's dead, we have nothing to hide behind. Go to verse 15, chapter 50. The brother said, here it is, what if Joseph still bears a grudge against us and pays us back in full for all the wrong he did? What if folk who know they are wrong will often operate in a spirit of speculation? What if? They won't ask you. They won't come face to face. They won't seek the truth because of their shame and guilt. They hid behind Daddy, but the real problem was shame and guilt. Look at verse 16. They are finally forced now to talk to Joseph. But look how they talked to him. They said, your father gave this instruction. I need you to catch this, because they didn't say our father. They said your father, which means or implies they still had a problem with father, but yet they hid behind him. Hear me. A lot of people will hide behind the very thing they have a problem with. A lot of people will hide behind a person and or their pride, and that's what they have a problem with. They said, your father, look at verse 17, your father gave this instruction. What did he say? He says, I beg you to do what? Forgive them their crimes. And now, please forgive the crime of your brothers. Watch this. They never said it. They said your father said it. This is what they really said. Here's the implication. Now, we weren't going to come and talk to you. You know, I wasn't going to come over here and say nothing. But you know, Daddy said. You know, Mama said. No, here it is. You know, they said. You know, don't get it twisted. I ain't coming because what they're hiding behind? They still hide behind a person, maybe who's dead, but also hide behind whom? Pride. So I ain't coming on my own. I'm just coming because, you know, they said. Now, here's the twister. This is the only way we can understand verses 19 and 20. In verse 18, the Bible says Joseph began to what? Cry. He wept. And his brothers also came and cried. Now watch this. This is the ideal ending. We cried. We made up. Right? No. See, don't you get it twisted because somebody came back to you and started crying. Because sometimes we use tears to mask the real problem. I want to submit to you, I don't believe Joseph was crying because they admitted they're wrong, because they did not admit they're wrong. They just said what Daddy said. I believe Joseph was crying because they still didn't get it. They still didn't get it. They still refused to say, we messed up and we apologize. Right? But why did they cry? Were they crying because they hurt this person? Nope. They was crying because they are afraid of the position that the person is in.
Watch it now, watch it.
Oh, y'all hear me? He's governor, and he can lock them up and throw away the key. So they ain't crying because they're really sorry. They're crying because now his dream has come true. They have to bow down to him. Hear me? Don't stop dreaming, even when folk don't agree with what you dreamed. Oh, y'all listen to what I'm saying? Watch this. Joseph said, this is what Joseph said. He said, do not be afraid. Here's what he's implying. Do not be afraid of me. Am I in the place of God? That's a question. What he's implying is, I'm not God. What you did, okay, and what you have done, I can't fix it. In fact, the wrong that you have done unto me was not really to me. It was wrong to God. Because God requires all of us to be what? Obedient. And so what you did to me was not really to me. It was to whom? To God. Go to Acts chapter 10, verse 35. When you look at Acts chapter 10, 35, Peter is now addressing, he's addressing this nation of Israel. And most importantly, really he's talking to the Gentiles. And what he's explaining to them is that this old covenant that we grew up under has now been fulfilled with this new covenant in Jesus Christ. So God is not just a God for the nation of Israel. He's a God now for whom? All nations. And what he's saying is now we got to open this up to everybody. But this is what he says. In every nation, anyone who fears him and does not do what is acceptable, what? Everyone who fears him and cannot what? Be acceptable to him. So again, you have to do what? You have to fear the Lord, right? And you're fearing of the Lord, and you doing what is right, God will accept you. Sometimes people want what? Us to accept them, and they miss what God is saying. You hear what I'm saying? And so what happens is, God is saying, and what Joseph is saying to his brothers is, you are coming to the wrong person to right your wrong. If you want your wrongs to be right, don't go to a person. Get yourself to God. Y'all with me? What did he do? He absolutely released them to God. He freed them. When folk who will not apologize to you, don't allow them to stop what God has called you to do, but you got to learn how to direct them to the word of God and release them to God. And absolutely say to them, it's not unto me, but you have done this unto God. I can't right your wrong, right? Only God can what? Justify what you have done wrong. But not only will it free them, but it also frees us. Watch this. Do not choose to allow people to make you become what God did not create you to be. So many times when folk do us wrong and they never say sorry, we become bitter. We become mad and angry. Never allow, do not choose to allow people to make you become what God did not create you to be. God says not only will the word free them, but the word will free you. It frees us to know the difference between human intentions and God's intentions. And often, here it is, we allow human intentions to stop what God designed to remain in motion. Why is it that when somebody does not apologize to you, you stop what God has called you to do? So it frees me to understand the intentions. Look at verse 20. Even though you what? Intended to do harm to me. God did what? He intended it for good. Now I need you to catch this, because it's not as though They had their intentions separately, and then God brings his intentions in separately. No, this is what God does. God takes their same intentions and he converts, he transforms, he stretches their intentions for good. This is what Joseph discovered. He says, I didn't understand it at first, but I'm so glad y'all sold me. I'm so glad that y'all hated on me. I'm so glad that you lied on me. I'm so glad you tried to destroy my character. I'm so glad, because you don't understand what you did actually was putting in motion what God was about to complete. Hear me? Please hear me. Don't wait for folk to say, I'm sorry to you. And don't look at them side eye. Don't play the games that they play. You got to understand, they are needed for your purpose. This is what he says. You meant it for my harm. You meant it. But what God did, he came in and took the very thing you meant and put his mint on it. And it came out good. Okay, I need y'all to take some time and say, God, I thank you for everybody who has done me wrong. God, I thank you. And watch this. It was 20 years. 20 years had passed before they saw each other. And some of us in here, 20 years later, we're still holding on to that joker who left us, to the man who broke our hearts, from the woman who left us, from folk who talked about us. They're probably still up in here. Don't look at them, but you're still mad at them. You won't hug them after service. You won't say, hey, welcome to Mount Calvary. You still have a grudge against them because they won't say they sorry. Everybody know they wrong. They know they wrong. You know they wrong. But you got to understand, they wrong ain't against you. It's against God. But God needed their wrong to make it right for you. Watch this. Watch this. I like verse 20, but I like the way it says it in the NIV version. Put that up, please. Here it is, the NIV version, verse 20. Verse 20 says, you intended to harm me, but God intended it for good. Watch this. Here it is. Here's the word. Circle this word. To accomplish. To accomplish what is now. Circle now. Hear me. Too many of us are still dancing in the moonlight of the past. And we have not caught up to our nowness. The question is, look at all the hate and all the wrong that's been done against you. Now fast forward to your now, and are you better? Yeah. Are you stronger? Yeah. You see what God did? You still holding them for what God used them for to bring you to your now so you can have good. Watch this. Don't allow what they did to stop you from accomplishing the purpose God has for you. Look at somebody and say, shame on us. That you allow what persons have done to you to what? To stop you from being accomplished. Don't you blame your mama. Don't you blame your daddy. Don't you blame your big brother, your little sister. Don't you blame the man. Don't you blame the dude on the job. Don't you blame that girl who ran her mouth. Don't you blame them, because God says, I needed their intentions so that I have something to convert for your good. Someone shout accomplish. You have been empowered to accomplish what? Everything that God has called you to do. And this is what it says. Now, I can't be stuck on the past, but But I got to be focused on the now. And when you look back over your life, your now is greater than your past. And guess what? Your later shall be greater than your now. Okay, I'm going to throw something at y'all. You got to see what God is doing even in your now. Hear me? I don't care. It matters not how bad it is. As long as God has his hands on it, it'll always turn out good. But this is what I need y'all to catch. Until this day, his brothers have never apologized. But did it stop Joseph? Joseph says, watch this, I release you to God. In other words, I forgive you because I know your fight is not against me, it's against God. I forgive you in Jesus' name. But I'm so glad you did what you did because I would not have the good that I now have. You have purpose. Don't allow a non-apology to stop what God has put in motion. You have been empowered to move beyond your hurt and see the reality of your now. That even in bad, God can transition it for good. Come on, celebrate Jesus in this place.